Good morning. So I've had something sitting in the car here for a few days that really needs to be unloaded. After we had this 5 or 6 feet of snowfall, we got pretty wrapped up in the yard trying to keep the driveways clear, trying to clear a path back to our pole barn in front of the car here. This barn is something that was built by the gentleman that used to live here. Him and another guy that lives down the road, down the highway from me, about 3 or 4 kilometers, helped build this, and they actually did a really good job on it. We've seen a couple shots of this before in another video when I was raking the roof off of it. The reason I know about the gentleman down the road who helped build this is because he's a friend of my father's. So they did a really good job on this thing, but it wasn't really finished. We put a big white tarp on one side. I've got a pile of tin that's going to go on this. There was another gentleman I know in town who redid the roofing on someone's house, saved a whole bunch of the old tin for me, and gave it to me so that we can finish tinning off this barn and get it sealed in. We're going to build a couple 16-foot doors here, and we're actually thinking of maybe extending this out 16 by 16 foot right in front of the doorway. So we got lots of plans for this barn, but this is way down the road. But to go back to this story about what's in the car right now, after 4 days of removing snow and just trying to make it so we can get up and down our driveway, get all the roofs cleared off so nothing caved in except for the little tent. I'm going to grab the camera for a sec because I'm a bit taller. I showed a couple pictures of this tent up here that all our lumber was in, and I said I punched holes to let the water drain, but yeah, didn't quite do well enough. She's completely caved in up there. But that's okay. That's life. These things happen. That's minor. You know, none of the structures took a bad hit or anything. We got all the snow off of them. That one just fell by the wayside because there was 5 feet of snow trying to get up to it, and we didn't dig a path. We were too worried about the garage and the sheds and the house and everything else. So after doing all this work for 4 days, trying to get all the snow removed, we decided it was time to take a little break. So we went out to a hot spring down the lake, across a ferry. It was a good day trip. It's a pretty cool hot spring down there. So 3 of us went down there, jammed into the car, and went over a mountain pass and stopped in town to have breakfast on the other side of the hill. And we started rummaging around town and looking at some stuff, and went into this, predominantly it's a record store. Lots of cool vinyl, old vinyl, lots of new vinyl. Their main focus is not really on antique stuff. Their main focus, I think, is on the records. It's a younger town. It's a little bit of a hippie town. It's kind of freewheeling and comfortable little place. So they had other focuses. And one of the things I saw as soon as I got on the door was this monster that's in the back of the car right now. So yeah, there was 3 of us in the car, and when I saw this thing, I pretty much had to have it because I saw the price tag hanging off of it. And I'd never seen one before. This thing is actually painted a light John Deere green, and it's got some names on the side of it. It's kind of worn out. Once I get it out, you'll see a little bit better. But what this is this is a vegetable cutter for livestock. So I did a little bit of research on this before I actually bought it. As soon as I saw the price, I pretty much knew I wanted it. But I kind of hummed and hawed a little bit. Ended up buying it. After doing some more research, we found out exactly what it was and just how old it was. I mean, this thing, I think, is right around 1860s, 1870s. I actually found a catalog online from Ames plow equipment from 1876, and I got a couple pages out of it that describe exactly what it does and its purpose and everything. This one, much like a lot of other things that John Deere sells, John Deere goes to companies that know how to build things right, build them more affordably than they can tool up and get set for building, and they'll paint them John Deere green and they'll brand them. So the one thing I really wish about this is I wish the lettering would have been a little bit better, but we can make out that it's John Deere written on it. It's not something that's been altered. This is all original paint on this thing. It's really in great shape. I saw one online for sale down in Utah, I believe it was, and it had a pretty good price tag on it. Substantially more than this one. It's in a little bit better shape, but it was way more than the cost of this one. So we're going to try and get this out of the car. We're going to put it under shelter here, and then we'll take a little walk around. So I don't know, probably don't want to see how I'm going to get this out of here all alone, but we'll just continue on recording while I muscle this thing out of the car, and then we'll get a good look at it. So I guess we'll just start with this side, seeing as this is where we are. So judging from the pictures that we got on this, Portland, Oregon, there was some fancy kind of, scroll work painting that was done on here. I believe it was said John Deere on this side. I've got pictures of the other one that shows exactly what it should say. I'm going to spin it sideways here. So, I think up here it said Ames, A-M-E-S, vegetable cutter. And if we go on to this side, it's going to be a little bit dark, but you should be able to see, I think in this light where it says John Deere, there's a very long J, O-H-N, a long D, E-E-R-E on this side. Same thing, I had a bunch of scroll work and a bunch of other stuff going on here. But this is all original. You know, this green paint you can barely see on it anymore. But it's in really, really good shape. So the way this thing works, there's this handle that goes on it right here. There's a flat spot on the shaft, I think, or no, it's just a completely round shaft. This handle goes on, that tightens down. I had to loosen this off to get it in the car. The only thing missing on this is right in these 5 items on 3 different locations, there's something that clicks in here with little knife cutters that sit like this. Because what you do is you take all your old root vegetables, like your old potatoes, turnips, all the other stuff that maybe you'd want to feed your sheep and cattle in wintertime, put all your root vegetables inside this hopper. They go down against the back side of the blade, which I'll put my finger through. They'll rest up against the blade here. You can adjust these blades in and out. So it slices it, and then the fingers that attach here would chop it into cubes. So you grab the crank, load all your vegetables and stuff in here, grab the crank and you spin it, and what it does is it cuts up all your root vegetables into cubes, and you can just put a bin underneath to catch all this stuff. So it needs a little bit of work, but this isn't going to be restored. If I can get some bolts loose without breaking anything, I'm going to loosen the bolts. I'm going to snug things up. There's a couple nails here that actually look like original nails. Right, this one kind of ripped out. It was like this in the store. You know, they didn't do anything to this. This needs to be up like this. Everything needs to be tightened down a little bit. But it's really just in beautiful shape, considering I think it's probably about 144 years old. You know, there's not much to it. I mean, there's not much that can go wrong, but the wood is fantastic. You can see up here where there's a little bit of a separation of this molding that went on the top, and there's a bunch of dirt and crud down in here. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and blow a lot of this out with air. I don't want to take all this stuff apart because this is all original nails and everything. My understanding is that the gentleman that owned the store that bought this got it out of a barn from a Doukhobor community. So Doukhobors, I'm not sure how widespread the Doukhobors are. There's been a lot of Doukhobor colonies and settlements set up down in southern British Columbia here over the years. Doukhobors are European people that just kind of communed together and did a lot of farm work and a lot of the, the old homesteading type stuff. There's still communities down in southern Alberta where the Doukhobors have farmers markets you can go to. I mean, you get free range chickens and eggs and grains, all kinds of non-GMO stuff. I mean, they are down to earth, hard working farming type people, and that's where this came from. Was an old barn off of the Doukhobor settlement somewhere down in southern BC here. So this was our find, and I just couldn't say no when I saw it. I thought it looked really good sitting in the corner of the barn. And the other thing I really liked was the fact that I managed to find on, I believe it was archive.org, an Ames Plow Company catalog that was put together back in 1876. And I've got a page that has a hand-drawn picture of this that looks exactly like it. It's got a description of how it was used. And what they had said in the write-up was that, yes, it's for wintertime feeding of your cattle and sheep. Take all your root vegetables, chop them up, mix it with some hay, let it ferment, let it do its thing, let the juices get into the hay, and use it for overwintering your animals. We'll post pictures of those 2 pages that I found on the website in good high quality in case anybody really wants to go look at it. I'll make sure I put the link down below in the description here. That might take a little bit. The video will be up sooner than those links will be done. But I will put all that stuff together because I just think this is a fantastic piece of history, and I love stumbling across things like this that are in such good shape. And I'm not going to mess with it. There's I don't know, maybe we'll get one more shot of this side before we put this away and set a tarp over it. Because you can see there's a couple steel straps down in here that actually hold the bottom up. This stuff is cast as well. Screws that go in, If we get this dirt out of here, we can probably firm everything up a little bit and just get it looking a little bit better. But I am not taking this thing apart. This thing is going to pretty much remain the way it is aside from a cleanup. So that's it. This was our find from what was supposed to be just a relaxing day at the hot spring. Turns out our passenger in the back seat got jammed into the corner a little bit because I had to squeeze this thing in. So yeah, there we go. John Deere branded Ames vegetable cutter. About 140 years old. So just thought we'd share that with you. We'll do some updates on this in the future once we actually get some work done on it and clean it up a little bit. This is going to have a really good home sitting here, and it's going to be here for a long time. So have a good day. That's all.